Welcome to... What was the name of this thing called? Oh, yes. Before we end, now we're starting out with Dungeon Master 102. You thought I wouldn't say it. And this is a very delicate dungeon. And things can be hard to hear with the sound of magic flute still deriding our ears with all the music we must hear. And then we proceed through the dungeon versus the dungeon, the catacombs versus the hell pit. This is the same thing, but now we're in a very different display of artistry. But that there's a bootleg copy of this often begets the way that it's read-only memory during these movie sequences of the Squaresoft, Nintendo, and other games' origins, that these characters come from swinging keys and Disney cartoons in every wanted direction. That Disney owns these practical avatars is none of our business at Wizards of the Coast, where we only take it as an opportunity to learn about role-playing games as they exist in adventure form and onto this 3D animation. And this is unfair because this is part of the game, but it's part of this Excalibur entrance that's giving me commercials and is giving me a whole new light on entertainment for video games and movies, and it's beautiful to see the AI create such delicate worlds. But we've got to get right into this. Where's Goofy and where's Donald and where's the main character and what are they talking about? And how could this be the same Final Fantasy game unless it's a role-playing game with Disney characters? And we're missing what they're saying, so let's hone in. Oh, sure, they stopped talking now. Okay.
Let's stick together for one more journey.
Let's stick together for more than one journey. That's a nice procession to make. Concession, I should say, to the events that are going to transpire in this Dungeon Master are completely random and without warning. So I warn you, if you see something heinous in this dungeon, then let me say you've been warned for as much time as I can give you to warn you. As we approach the building and these outlines that display we are not in a cartoon, but a video game cartoon. And there's something these are called short read-only memory movies. Why is CD-ROM always a permanent state once it's recorded? Isn't it RAM recording the CD and then ROM that goes on the CD read-only memory? I'm learning about it too. We're not all computer engineers. They have it. Harvard computer engineering seems to be the model class of all citizens, and film recognition goes completely under the wall because, well, it's an abandoned topic there. Only the restless seem to carry a book bag to film class. And here we are learning about editing techniques and line of sight match of these characters, and it's cutting together like a Hollywood film. Editing, I should say. I keep missing what Goofy's saying. It's like I'm talking over the top of these guys. Do I do that in every Dungeon Master? Talk over the top of everybody? No, we haven't had the sound working all year. So, when was the last time we had sound? Oh, it's just been finally Magic Flute all these times? I don't remember back to Dungeon Master Engineering Sound, but there must have been something gibraldering about the Wookiee code or the cookie code or the ratings of somewhat far north of the border for Dungeon Master haven't been as good as, say, where the game originated in Amsterdam and England, between them underground in the catacombs for the last battle of the Knights of the Round, Generation 2, which is a story that not even this game will tell you about, in case you're wondering what Kingdom Hearts has actually had at its goal. And I shouldn't have said the name of that saga because it is so much richer and intertextual and full of Final Fantasy and Disney references, and the Disney seeps out of it with its characters and gives you its characters in full force. And you will see these heinous interventions with...
Let's go.
Well, they said yes that time.
Bye.
So I had to pay attention to what the characters were saying, because sometimes it's an important plot clue. But right now, these guys haven't been in much of a dungeon lately. They've been kind of living it out in the Pokemon world. We're going to have to see if, maybe somewhere down the pipe, these guys actually have an automated adventure. But we got a commercial, so we'll sit through it. We sit through commercials when we know we've been skipped. Alright, this looks like actual gameplay, but that too came to an end. Right as the trustworthy steed of the selection of the voices of the characters. We need to turn this up in here. Now this isn't the Magic Flute soundtrack, so I don't know if I can legally play that up or, but it's cool music, eh? Wow, Dungeon Master's really getting a soundtrack with this one. If it ever works out in our favor. And where did Magic Flute go in the background? I can kind of hear it back there. It's like the volume of Magic Flute turned down automatically. So we must go back to Audio Land and turn up the music of Magic Flute before we get ripened for using the wrong soundtrack. So come with me to Audio Land, where we will fidget with some switches and hope that game goes on Dungeon Master mode. It's giving so much of a straight up intro. We'll both games playing the Magic Flute. That wasn't long in Audio Land. And what is this? The mirror lamp sees actual gameplay of this game is made possible. And Goofy follows you around. That's one advantage you have of this dungeon, is that Goofy follows you around the dungeon, and I'd say those are pretty good odds. People tell me, oh, these are for kids, these games are for kids, that everything's a kid game. If it looks like a game, it has to be for kids. Well, I remember back when Ouija board was a game, and that isn't for just kids. Kids can play it, but come on now, use your sensibilities. When it comes to a game, no, it's a game you're good at and wild for, and then you'll realize it's a game you play as an adult and not as a child. And children are not meant for only games, and adults are not meant to go without them. That's my only speech on games. And this guy's knocking the block off some automaton, ice chest, drinking fountainhead spirit, and he got a lot of gold coins off of it, and it was kind of cool the way he faces enemies. The enemies along the way. He's got his allies and his potions and his swinging mace, and he's going to just dungeon at like record pace. It's really good to see the square off of all of these games really come to light, and I so prancing pony along with these sets of Dungeon Master rules, so much so that I'm letting the Magic Flute play for 15 seconds at least without a Dungeon Master response. Starting now. Hey man, that wasn't 15 seconds, but this is Dungeon Master's nephew, Scuttle. And my name is Scuttle, and I have big fangs, and I eat flowers near a beast plant. And even though this is my Mandragora lair, I'll sit here in my preface of being the one with the skinny amoeba-eating mitochondrion that I am. And I've seen in the window glory of time through the features of all things blackened unto the spirit of death that has haunted me, and come from my mortal perished beast from a cartoon, even then has to reckon with the Granddaddy Zero, the Grand Dragon of Death, Death himself. Meet him, his name is Death. And he looks like this weird octopus squid creature, and he's from the Kingdom Hearts, and he's really got Beast riled. To the point that Cogsworth, Goofy, and Donald are completely on their ass. I don't know if they're going to be able to get up after Beast is wildly cried. The beasts of the wild are crying. And now we have a Shake-a-Sword. Don't hit Beast with a Shake-a-Sword. Is he the boss battle? Boss battle, Beast? Why, isn't that a loathing side to be on as against Beast? I thought the movie taught us that he was on the right side, just because now he's been visited by death. You're supposed to expect me that he's the one to lose the battle, and with the way the swinging maces and drums and sticks, I could see even Cogsworth taking this demon on. I mean, really, it's a fight I've got to stay silent about for another 15 seconds to resolve. Get that antidote over there, thank you. Resolve. What's he saying? It hasn't been 15 seconds.
Well, you got everybody down there and got attention.
I did what?
Yeah, you did.
I can understand them now.
Who was that guy you were talking to?
They're making
The one in
sense
black.
like in a movie. And if I don't keep talking and talk at intervals above them, then we'll never know we're in Dungeon Master. We'll think we're back playing some game somewhere with some read-only memory of some movies that are never meant to be Disneyfied in the way that they're so crowningly justified, Disneyfied in this series. The Wizards of the Coast. The Wizards of the Coast have supremely intermissioned with the Disney types. And yes, we are official role players now. In a role play of good technology, good graphics. We're not staying in this dungeon for as long as we've prepared, though, because the solid images are intimidating. Like we should address somewhere to another dungeon, but we have to stay here amidst our chosen characters, who are very developed this time from being pop culture heroes from the Disney Mania Guide. And this is actually Magic Flute and Dungeon Master 102. And in Dungeon Master 102, nothing as at first makes sense, and you did take on a great boss battle with Beast. But Beast is admitting, even in lyrics we can almost hear, except I'm talking over them, that Beast is okay from the battle and wants to get the beautiful girl back on his side, but he thinks his... He kind of had puberty at the wrong time, and well, that's why he's got a lot of hair on his face, but he was an awkward child, but he's grown better, and I think he could make a good battle guy that comes on and meets a girl, and she turns him handsome, and that's just how it's gotta be. Every ugly guy needs a hot chick to turn him handsome. It's like Fairy Godmother or something. And Fairy Godmother would kick ass on Kingdom Hearts. I think she'd fly around, bibbity bobbity booing you right to F out. Alright, so we're going down this hallway. Don't know where it goes. The west wing of Beast's castle, but where is the rest of our party running behind us or trapped in the Nosferatu demons coming at us? Oh, this is so incredible to shed light on the color of what we have as the most apocalyptic climactic video game in history. Kingdom Hearts 2, it's only part 2 and there's like 7 parts. Why can't we just skip to part 7 and go to Final Fantasy 7 and be back in... Because we'll end up back in Discworld, and you want to know what it's like in Discworld? I'll tell you what it's like in Discworld. There's a place called Discworld that is parallel to our conveniences, and we're having technical difficulties. Once it was mentioned, it couldn't be forgiven. But now, we will see the Discworld. That is the Discworld. That is the complex video game version. After this commercial, it's a comedy version of a fantasy story, just like Dungeon Master. But we're comedy Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game. Their comedy fantasy humor which fantasy humor is already in the D&D, and I remember these old school PlayStation logos, and we don't want to record the copyright warning because we're asking for special permission to use parts of their game in a different context, and usually we don't even use the sound, but we somehow had our sound guy come in at the last freaking minute. 10 episodes left. Now our sound's working, and to what avail? So we can hear the bleepity bloops of the Mario Brothers soundtrack, and we'll all freak out playing Super Mario World again, because it's just got the best freaking soundtrack of all time. And if you don't think Mario Brothers has the best plot, soundtrack, characters, script, movie, I mean everything, then you're just not in touch with pop culture. This is Discworld. Nonetheless, say it's not always comic. Sometimes. Oh, wait, let's listen to the story.
In an astral plane that was never meant to fly.
That's weird. An astral plane. We could go into one now. That was a weird one. It came out and pause on Discworld. How could Blazing Dragons be the cover of Discworld? I don't get this box and thrown it away. I'm Discworld. I can't believe I'm the only one that's played this game. This game's not quite moving as fast as Kingdom Hearts. I think we may have to go back. Go back a chapter, Dungeon Master. They just played on Discworld. Why did I bring us into Discworld of all places? What are they saying? It sounds like a Gorky Park song. And what are they talking about? The Dragoo. Dragoo, Queen of the Radius. Queen of the Interlocutors. Queen of the Night. See into my eye of light. Brighten my trip to the Enchantress Waltress. And give me that load sign when it comes to an introduction of the weirdest intro to a video game I've seen since we decided to pull over into Discworld Zone. And now I'm really lighting you up with some fantasy facts. I bet you didn't know Rincewind the Wizard was the star of this. And his voice was done by Eric Idle or John Cleese, I'm not sure. But it seems to reflect so. As a Monty Python remnant, even though Terry Pratchett is all but Australian. And he drinks Fosters when he makes video games about Discworld. Discworld! Australian for game. Discworld is a pretty interesting game, it looks like. Like for PlayStation 1, it kind of had all the right moves, but a slow loading time in some cases. And we're talking over the characters again, and I wanted to know what he said, but I had to read my lines, and the teleprompter's coming fast, and the transmission's being read, and we only have so many Dungeon Masters left, and we still gotta make that giant 1 hour construct of a Dungeon Master. I just don't see this being it. I'm so bald-eared from just like holding a mirror lamp this long at the same shape and image, not understanding what that skeleton person is supposed to be saying. And here we are. What do we have with it? Just about jack squat is what we have. Our inventory's 0. We're following around a dead death guy with skeleton people. And the gingerbread man is lost on the path, but he's like actually a little elf or lawn gnome or something. He's a gnome. And what is in Discworld other than fairy creatures? And are not fairy tales based on sometimes the lack of fairies and the humor that accompanies it? So let's listen in.
I say, put your hands up. And you, put your hands up.
What did you say?
It's traditional, a well-established ritual of your actual mugger and victim relationship. You being the victim, and me being the aforementioned mugger. Now please, put your hands up.
Hold on to you, what's the names?
I haven't got all night, you know. Just do it,
I got into
alright?
the same argument on the Virginia bus that was going to the Valkyrie bus that went to the Vermont bus from Hollywood. And on the Vermont bus, I was so drunk I didn't know I was in a stick-up with a demon alien either. It's a strange thing how Discworld tells us so true about what's happening in real life through use of its dungeon master metaphors, and that it's greatly on time with Dungeon Master is why. Oh, commercial! These are good vacuums. I wouldn't doubt. I would go down in debt to a salesman to sell you one of these vacuums. These are good vacuums, and you got a whole commercial full of them. Why can't I have one? Why are we getting pulled in? Tractor beam. Well, that was a good commercial. Almost better than this game that may play sometime soon, but we skipped so far ahead that we hit a commercial sweet spot. A commercial, a sweet spot. And of course, for this game, we need all the commercials to pay back the titler for letting us borrow these wonderful images of things so beautiful that Rincewind is convinced the Dungeon Master is on break or something because he's got a show running out here and no one knows who's running it. It's just on like autopilot while Dungeon Master listens to the magic flute for the 15th time in Dungeon Master with permission from the big guy upstairs who says to us Mozart is happy too at the end of it all.
Still, I suppose it's torture lesson. Torture, get it? Not a good pun, but then what is?
Everyone's a comedian.
Was that a joke from I won't even say the dejected title of the movie?
What are you doing in there?
Begging without a permit. I asked some old codger for money and he blew the whistle on me. Next thing you know,
Oh, I get it. Begging without a permit. That's a delay I had to share with you once. I was never begging without a permit. I always had my permit to beg. Hang on, we're missing it.
Someone collared your market?
Watch it.
Must be what they call a tax squeeze, isn't it? Oof, how do I think I'm up?
Very funny. I'll remember you, pencilhead.
Of course you will. Oh, I thought he was talking to me. I got so insulted just by the insulting man in straps over there. Listen, we're not getting anywhere in this gameplay. It seems like we're standing around arguing with characters, and that's how you get anything done on a role-playing game where you're choosing your adventure. And we need to point at things that he needs and put them in the menu and sort them out, and this is where he's at his alchemy best. And that was quick that he made that spell. He's out to use a spell. He loves the load being that, the load clock being that time. Days of our lives, sand clock, sand people clock, time dial, sand watch, sand dial, or sundial. Or, I'm so stoned I can't remember a word. Is it anywhere in my picture books? Sands through the hourglass. Hourglass, son. Sands through the hourglass. And that's what we're looking at with Rincewind's new spell. It's going to work good with this voodoo doll he's given the wizard. To collect all the voodoo dolls, you must play this game slowly, backwards, and in a serpent tongue. So, I mean, we could go forward. Maybe. I see something happening in action right here.
Yes.
Something so big and so charming that it uses all the data of the game, but may have just been imprinted by accident.
P-A-Y-E.
Pay as you eat.
Yes. On the other hand, since the phenomena is unverifiable,
Quite.
well, then it might not be happening at all. We could all just ignore it, and then it must just go away. Stop believing in it, sort of thing.
Good lad.
That's a great idea. If you stop believing in anything, it disappears. And anything you stop believing in isn't there if you don't believe it is.
You see,
And that's a good methodology to have to integrate with things scintillating in my eyes, like the lecture of Norris Hall, where you get the big red out and you start to unload your pencil on the final paper, and then you think, was that really the teaching item that I had to look at? Was that if I stop believing in it, it'll just go away? Doesn't always work on finals week. The problem is hard. No matter how you take it,
Yep.
it's going to be a hard
How would a
question.
nice boy like you
Buck
get
it
into
up,
a mess like
write the
this?
paper, get through the
I
class.
think I might just go stand
And
over
if
there
you
for a
think
while.
Dungeon Master will get you through class, well, it'll only get you through the Dungeon Master Guild on a special episode, and it'll teach you how to beat Pokemon early on. But what other grand skills can you pick up from this being built, the Grand Dungeon of the Ball?
Hello, and you
The
are...
Grand Dungeon is a
Well,
connection way to
I
all
was
the
the tax
dungeons from
collector.
Dungeon Master.
Then some
From
kid
1
had
to
me locked up
102
in
and
the
they're
stocks,
going to
and
112
now
and the
I've
steam
lost my
train
job.
keeps a brewing and
They
I
dared
keep
to put me in the stocks,
looking at the things that are
peasants.
done in the center of
All
myself.
of them. Laugh at me, will they? I'll
And I
pull their
don't get
allowable
what these
deductions out.
pickups in audio are supposed to mean, or where we're attending the dungeon too, but that Rincewind lives in a dungeon is so fitting for Dungeon Master, and that there's a slight twinge of comedy going on here is no doubt seen in these films of the Discworld that are completely what the game is based on, Zelda Discworld, and yeah, some of the Lord of the Rings type games, you know, that get us in the fairy tale fantasy world and shake us up with dungeons. Not these clobbering games that we're used to even with Disney characters where everybody clobbers each other. In this one, they really get clobbered. I mean, they smack you, they whack you, they throw you against the wall, and all you get is learn a magic spell to keep from falling over. Well, I'm falling over. Maybe I get knocked down and I don't get up again. But if I say that, I'll get in trouble, so I get knocked down, I get up again. Speaking of that Da Vinci Code, I think this shiznit with Rincewind has that Da Vinci Code shiznit all throughout it. And that is going to take me on a tour of Milan as soon as I get down the staircase of stone from Fiddler's Circus in the midst
I don't really want to
of the
investigate
Whoopie Gog in the
Still
church
just a wee bit on
epigram
the scary
in
side
the
for my
midst
tastes.
of the lost remnant of the city of London underground. And so now we're like all set up for like a longer episode. And Dungeon Master just can't chill. Hey, what's the matter, Dungeon Master? You can't chill? You don't want to see what like an hour of Discworld would be like? An hour of Discworld would bring your show to a halt, bro. It'd be like, if you listen to these guys, they're actually saying something about the dungeon around them. You're supposed to talk about the dungeon. What's the matter, Dungy? Too scared to go through the dungeon for an hour? Oh, you dares and your haunting reproach, my nephew. But alas, I'm looking at the time code and I'm saying we're running
Great
pretty
offless
far.
milk. It's a den of iniquity.
That if we had a chance to even get over the hump of, to say, a longer Dungeon Master,
Red.
that I would
Red
hope,
light.
for my hope of hopes and my sake of sakes, that I was taking Dungeon Master
What's this
seriously
thing? How suddenly goes
and
to
did
all
not
things?
skip a
Isn't that
step
nice?
in the order of how I did things to solve all the puzzles,
I was told
or
this
the
might
puzzles
be
will
Big
fall
Sally's
apart.
address.
Now, are you with me so far?
Can't imagine why that'd interest
We were
you, big
watching
boy.
Kingdom Hearts back then.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Well, I'll give you Kingdom
Well, what?
Hearts and
Where you are, wearing
technical
a dress.
fun and,
Look, it's not a dress, it's
you
a
know,
wizard's robe.
I could have
It
just
looks like a dress.
I could have just said
But it isn't. It's the
maybe
costume
we
of a
need
very
to
ancient
take a
and revered
hike
order
to
of
some other
mystics.
zone,
Oh,
and
you-
now we're
you
getting
rather not, do you?
You'd be
complete
amazed.
Mind you, that's
technical difficulties. All right, there's something I gotta do here. If you were meant to be Dungeon Master as an hour-long Dungeon Master, come true Dungeon Master now, Dungeon Master, because I got a real painful feeling that we're going on. We don't even know what we're getting into, but that this has like some kind of ambient noise after the Mirrorlands audio adjuster and microphone outside the ship got fixed after Zarathustra stopped at the space station. I can't explain it. This turned out to be an even better run through Dungeon Master, and it was like the Corgis of Time, and it was like all that Secret of Mana shiznit turned into a super game, Legend of Mana. And now we really got a game, and I'm thinking, this is trippy. Am I saying this right now? Is this really Dungeon Master on stilts? Insert tape B. Welcome to Dungeon Master 102. We have threaded past the starting point of the middle of the game, this week's adventure. That this week's adventure has totally drenched me out, entrenched me in games that I have never played, and forced me near the handle of calling stop only when we get to a part we can save our game, because we haven't come all this way without saving our game on Dungeon Master, have we now? Please save your game. Sorry, game does not save here. Alright, this is Dungeon Master. We got another problem. We gotta find a save portal soon. The next bit of the game, I'll be playing Legend of Mana to find the secret save portal that we can only save at a secret save portal. Was how this game is built, and it takes all the game to find one. And really, Dungeon Master doesn't have any save points. So I'm gonna say, Dungeon Master, you can save your game here. For the second or third time in this whole grand dungeon, you gotta save your game, because if you die here, you gotta come back all the way from Dungeon Master 1, and trust me, in this pie-eating competition you're about to enter, with these kind of rustic, outback types, I don't know how to explain it. They're kind of alien, spacecraft, fairy tale types, but you like them. That was a rockin', shocking blow. Right at the moment, we're going in. This kind of reminds me of like that Chrono Trigger one, or really maybe even Secret of Mana, with like upgraded sound and upgraded picture, or like an upgraded system. These Squaresoft games sure were complex. It's Dungeon Master, and he's opening treasure chests left and right. And I don't know where we could go to get any more necessary equipment for the coming of this, hopefully, scrolled through transition into the very last of all the Dungeon Masters. And the very last of all the Dungeon Masters are coming in such a marauding pace that it's nice that we kind of got to the center of this one and let it drift forward. Because my time clock is playing tricks on me. 10 minutes have passed and only 2 minutes have gone by. 3 minutes have passed and only 1 second has gone by. What is this? An interspace, interstellar, interplanetary matchup with time codes? Because I'm off the time effect of Japanese time in Legend of Mana? Am I being racist by asking if this video game is in Japanese time? Because they have a lot more time on their hands to play a game this long and this so stripped of its Dungeon Master core that it feels the wings of an eternal angel only to bring her to a commercial right after we saw the pleasant throne of Shroomland, which we will take a step back into and notice that they're like the Smurfs, but only bluer in context. And on that, I've just got to let the game play for itself. There's people all over the place. It's hard to talk to anyone. How did we get through the hallway of Crawl if Crawl Master is in De Gaulle? I don't know, we could send it over as an early warning. For those that trespass the Dungeon Master line, they will be dropped off before this section, and there is a way out of it into the beachland we go. And there's actually enemies here that we're fighting. It's a weird battle, but we're always finishing the battle right as we adjust to the scene, are we not? We're missing all the fun little enemies that we collide with our swords on the way. And this is really advanced gaming technique. I'm not even kidding. This is a really advanced role-playing game for all that it keeps track of and how it does it. It kind of reminds me of Dungeon Master. That's why it's in Dungeon Master. Because even though these are the forests of enchantment and places you can go in and out of safely, it's not totally a safe world, as you saw some alien getting blown up with a sword earlier and coins getting collected. Now there's the treasure chest I was looking for. And this guy's like, don't I remember you on another game, or was this the same game? And you're all upset tonight on Dungeon Master. I don't know why. I've set a certain timer limit to the whole thing, and it's gotten to crockery that I'm even following a time code. I think it would be best if I found some kind of a opening to another boss battle, or something that would give us a real climactic rise instead of these alien images of coins of infirmaries, which is where I'm going to be playing the rest of this game if I don't get through it in an hour. But why does that say the end? And why am I charlatan with these gaming options that are never going to heat up? Or use any of my real challenging brain puzzle power to solve the Rubik's Cube that is my home. And I walk with you to the stallways of where we see future mountain cliffs. I like this one. Only this is the beach still. It's hours and hours and hours into the game. And it's like we're still playing the same 3 games, but it's like we lost Kingdom Hearts. Didn't know what game we played second because of a bad memory vibe. And now we're in here back on Legend of Mana, which is just Secret of Mana Pump to the Pump. Now, I don't know about all these side plots, because there's so many side plots in Dungeon Master that to make the Grand Dungeon, we're going to have to kind of go around these plot points, ignore what Goofy and Donald are saying for now, because we're not sure if we got a bridge too far or a bridge far enough, you know? And it's looking like it's about far enough, but if it's a bridge too far, we can push it a little ways. I mean, heck, we got all the time in the world to play Dungeon Master. Why don't we just play Dungeon Master the rest of the day? I don't know. You guys still game? You want me to find another spot on this record to make it a more enchanting tour through the world of Mana? What was that second video game made? It was Discworld. Discworld was kind of primitive in its making, but it was such cast with Monty Python ire that Terry Pratchett descends upon us all as the master, this time of Wizards of the Coast, the MVP Terry Pratchett, making all these other worlds seem lighthearted and fun fair. And now that that's the point of the episode, I could see it laying down and saying, well, here's the most intense 40 minutes you're gonna play. Or I could tell you this, Dungeon Masters. We could see where all this leads and follow it down a trail where it's like the steps of Machu Picchu. It's a 3-year battle up the steps, and we're making them thunder shine with the mouse to keep the RAM and ROM circulating on the game engine. And this computer has one hell of a game engine. But I'm not going to tell you anymore, because we have faded from all the things we are trying to get done. We have faded from the essential realism. The Dungeon Master could go on, but now that we're so close to 112, do we need a Dungeon Master this off the beaten path, which they all are, and no one knows really why this guy's laughing on Legend of Mana, except that you can't hear the voices on this one, and that's good, because I don't always want to hear voices, man. If someone asks me if I'm hearing voices, I don't always want to, you know, so I'm never in. Alright. Now here's the same game, but an earlier instinct leads me back to these commercials. Dungeon Master's not getting weaker at the point of these commercials, but only accruing capitalist machinations of objectivity to purchase and to make your object of desire your own. So there's the Sony logo. Don't even give me these professor courses over here that are all wound up online. Yes, I saw the signal again. You know, you always have to be right about something. Here we are testing another medium. It's like we're just archivists that our job is to just troubleshoot and analyze dungeons and be a dungeon analyzer. And I'm a engine analyzer, and I'm especially an architectural analyzer or dungeon master. You know, the architecture of all these games is turning out pretty good. Even on that Inferno episode nobody saw, where it takes you to hell in the real places that hell is, which is right by Amsterdam where the Flying Dutchman lives. It's actually this building that's on that painting. That's hell. That's the Crowley's Castle in Van Gogh's painting, and there is the Audio Land. And here we're getting these kind of introductory smoothies, and that it's so smooth and peaceful I'm falling asleep. Is this the game that has come before my sleep? Is this the game that has reckoned with my sleep so long? Must I now avail not the screens of Dungeon Master and go spacing through time at a certain meterage that will get me from the comatose state of sleep that I'm falling in just by paying attention to this intro? Well, all good intros make me think we've seen too much. Because if you're like me, you feel like you've already been through 4 dungeons in this, and are now just watching to see how good the graphic cards can process, which they're all processing at an alarmingly good rate. It seems the visuals have been stuck out in this as a sort of play on play. It's a play within a play to show how beautiful our day can be with the use of CGI interactively. Interactive CGI, that's what this is. I don't know what makes it so wanting to be part of it, or that it's a lot of pictures of heroes in a game that is going forward with the game, and that it's a real picture of what we've been looking at. And then that was just the intro for it, and now we've seen the intro to both parts. But again, if you skip an hour ahead to be in a totally different spot, you probably won't be fighting monsters on the beach, but this looks familiar territory. Did we not see this before? And no, we didn't, but say yes, we did in case the music changed. And maybe one is like more croggy than the other. But I'm not going to tell you why I think it's okay if you do lose a tooth to put it under your pillow, and the Tooth Fairy herself, who is one of the most important fairies of all fairies, will come to your rescue in only fairy form, as judgment should have it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm too lost in this game to go on. What do you guys say? We're going to call it good? Okay, that's where the edit goes. Good night, everybody. It's Dungeon Master. Wait, don't go off yet. They're saying there's still some footage to show. I know I've been trying to end it for like 20 minutes. I don't know, the time counter just lost all memory, and now I'm just on backup power. Hang on. I should have just exited movie making mode, but I'm in the middle of a movie, It seems like we're just gonna be still and let the convo about music continue on, because you don't want to bluff that guy out about music. He's like one big puffy mask. I thought you said we could wrap it up around minute 40, and here we are, wondering if we've got another hour on our hands to blow on frickin' Dungeon Master, and all you're telling me now is don't end it now. You wanted it to end, and now you're there like, don't end it now. And there's not much more to be said about this Legend of Mana game, besides it's cluttery, it's abstruse, it fits all the meanings, and no one knows what postmodernism is, and the swords blaze right through these zombies like they're cutlery and arms. This is a long dungeon. I mean, this dungeon really goes on for a long time. We already all fell asleep from the intro to this game. Every one of those coins that expresses that sound effect puts me back to sleep, and you know, my voice of all, as calm and gentle as it is, and without anxiety as it is being nice to you all and presenting what I call an extended Dungeon Master. Extended to the world only for its precaution that, yes, Dungeon Master can grow into this kind of inner surety. And I agree with you that we have many levels to gain to get to 99. We're not even barely at level 80. And there's 10 levels left. And how can that be 2 levels a level when we don't even get a level up in this? It's too complicated, too full of plot holes, and too full of double negatives for me to really want to level up from this game and to be like old hat. Like, oh, another role-playing game for another system of creative genius from video game makers. What do we do now? So, I've made a wager with the filmmakers to take us from here, but not too far ahead. And I know I said around 30 minutes ago we were calling it a Dungeon Master Day. But sometimes you get mixed into these battles that last throughout the gaming. You get the sound of the game and the sound of the music, the magic flute in the background, and I'm in multimedia disarray in my incomplete bootleggings of these games that are totally commercials for the games and totally commercials for YouTube, which needs to have commercials for itself, paid for by me to work off my slavery ship with the YouTube creators that I'm still under. Well, that was the Murmuring Forest, and that's the end.